Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Eating While Broke. I'm your host, Colleen Witt, and today we have a very special guest, entrepreneur, founder of Coffee Del Mundo. Did I say it right?
Coffee Del
Mundo. Jon Kinnard's in the building, and this is all the way in South LA. So we have a Black-owned coffee business. So this is very unique. I don't actually drink coffee, but today I'm going to drink coffee.
That's right.
I'm going to test a cold brew. Before I even pass him over to the dish he's about to cook us, let's just do a test. This is the Cacao
Blanco, my favorite one.
Cacao Blanco. So, fun fact, I actually don't drink coffee, and if I do, I usually mix it with hot chocolate, and then usually I get the jitters and I start to think I'm going to have a panic attack. It's weird. I don't know why I react to coffee like that. So let's test it. And I'm not a coffee fan. So if I make a certain face, it's because I'm genuinely not a coffee fan. So it doesn't mean you should be taking my advice on coffee. You should not take my advice on coffee at all.
Disclaimer.
Hot chocolate, yes. I mixed vanilla.
Well, this is the white chocolate coffee,
okay.
So maybe you'll enjoy.
Yes. And I'm only going to drink a little bit because we don't need me bouncing off the walls. I can mess with this.
Okay.
It has a little bit of a coffee taste. It definitely has a coffee taste, which is good for coffee drinkers, right?
Absolutely.
I ain't gonna front. I could probably kill this whole thing. I could probably drink this whole thing, but will I get the jitters?
You will. This is like 2 servings in one, and for you, that may be like 3 servings.
So that means, what is coffee made? Caffeine, right?
Caffeine content. Yeah, cold brew is 3 times stronger than espresso. So a third of that is like 1 cup of coffee.
Okay, you need to have, this is delicious. I ain't gonna front. This is actually delicious. I would drink this whole thing and probably end up in the hospital, right?
Yeah, if you're
like
caffeine
me,
sensitive, you bet.
I'm not gonna lie, this is so easy to drink.
Yeah, it's made with oat milk, white chocolate, and coconut condensed milk with our Nicaraguan cold brew.
This is really delicious. I'm low-key surprised how delicious this is.
And it's plant-based, 100%. So it's good for you now and later.
Yeah, this is, so you should probably take this from me because how much can I drink without getting the jitters?
Probably to like right there.
Okay.
Yeah, probably to like right there.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna drink this. And then the other flavor is
it's our Café de Olla.
De Olla.
A traditional flavor in the Latino community, made with brown sugar, cinnamon, and our Mexican cold brew.
And you make this from scratch, right?
Yeah, all at the shop.
Wow, okay. And where's your shop located?
On 7414 South Vermont Avenue.
Okay. And when I was on the call with you, I don't know if you noticed, and it's very discriminatory, but I had to ask, how old are you?
I'm 33.
33. I was like, you're 33? What did I say? I said, oh, I got to have you on the show. So, young Black Latino man, cute ladies. I had to say it. I had to say it to help you all out. And you own your own coffee business, and it's award-winning.
It's award-winning. The only Black-owned award-winning shop in the city.
Yes. And what is your broke dish?
Ooh, that's a good one. So my broke dish is a spin on a traditional plate called a Garnachas. And I've been eating that since I was little because most families make it because it's just so easy, it's so cheap, it's so affordable and versatile. So that's my dish of the day.
Yeah. So this dish, I want to say costs, I think it was like maybe under $10, but I mean, the corn tortillas, there's so many, so I would guess you can get at least a lot out of it.
Oh, yeah.
So this is definitely a cheap dish, really affordable. Has why don't you walk us through the ingredients?
Yeah, sure. So it's made with a corn tortilla, and that's the benefit, like you said, is it comes in a pack. So you can make this dish the whole week, and what you do is you fry it in the oil for a little bit to let it get crispy like a tostada. And then we have some traditional black beans that we'll be spreading on it, kind of like a Mexican pizza, and then your choice of toppings. So I like to add avocado. I'm dairy free, so we got some vegan cheese along with some diced tomato, cilantro, and then at the very end we'll add our lime and our traditional Marie Sharp Belizean habanero pepper sauce.
And then you made sure to make a note that the beans had to be, what was it, refried or mashed?
Mashed.
And that, so just in case y'all go out there and buy a can of beans, you may buy the wrong ones. That's probably what I would do. So just make sure you look for refried or mashed. All right, go ahead, feed me.
All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off making sure our oil is hot. We turned it down a little bit. And then we'll get our beans warmed. So I like to put a little bit of coconut oil, but we're not in Belize today, so we're gonna have to make do and warm up our beans here.
So you put the coconut oil before you put the beans?
Yeah, and it gives it a little more flavor because this dish comes from Belize, and that's what my mom is. And so the coconut oil is a really signature taste in a Belizean dish.
I like coconut flavoring in, like when I make stew peas and rice.
Oh yeah.
Like, do you use coconut milk in your rice?
I use coconut as many times. Look, I put it in the coffee. I try to put as much coconut everywhere.
There's coconut milk in it?
Coconut condensed milk.
I thought there was oat milk.
And oat milk. So the coconut condensed milk gives it that creamy texture that you experience, like it. And then
so
the
good.
oat milk just gives it that, additional, lowers that pH and gives it that creamy texture too.
I'm not gonna lie, like I could see me easily drinking this whole thing, but I'm just scared about how like jittery I would get.
Oh yeah, I mean, we convert people all the time, non-coffee drinkers, into coffee because most people are not used to good coffee. They're used to burnt coffee.
Good.
Yeah. And it's roasted super fresh at our site in South Central, so literally you're not gonna get a fresher cup of cold brew coffee.
I mean, this thing is delicious. I'm not gonna lie, but this is dangerous for someone like me because deliciousness, I suck it down fast. Then it creeps up later.
And so for those of you who are scared of frying or maybe have never fried something, this may be your first time checking out this broke dish, a good way to test your oil is just to put a little bit of the tortilla in there. And if it bubbles up and floats immediately, then the oil is hot enough. But if not, then you want to wait because that's really the key to a good garnachas and get that good crispiness, and it's not too oily and too unhealthy for you because like I said, I would make this for breakfast, lunch, dinner. I would just fry up a whole bunch of tortillas at the beginning of the week and then just pop them out.
But how do you keep them fresh?
It's like a tortilla chip, just in a Ziploc bag on the counter.
Oh, but sometimes they sell it like that.
Yeah, but it ain't nothing like the thick, the fresh.
Okay.
And it's also more expensive. Just like the beans, I wouldn't even do the can. Like I said, I would do a pot a week, a big old pot of black beans.
You make it yourself?
Yeah, that's how you save money. The canned beans are expensive.
Wait a minute. So, okay, I don't really deal with a lot of beans. So tell me, how do you make beans?
Oh, okay. So, like I haven't said it. I come from a lineage of, on my mom's side from Belize, of restaurant owners and chefs.
Okay.
So with the black beans, first you got to soak the beans.
Mm-hmm. How long do you have to soak them for?
I like to do it overnight, and then in the next morning I start my process to cook the beans. So then you turn it on, let it cook a little bit. Then once the beans have cooked, then you chop up some diced onion. You put up a whole habanero in it. Along with the secret ingredient, which is really hard to find around here. The only place I find it is at the Asian markets, which is called culantro. Culantro. We grow it in Belize and in all the Central American countries, and see the tortilla starting to float. So it's almost ready. But it's like a stronger tasting cilantro.
Oh, okay.
But you put that in there with a little bit of sazon Goya, a little bit of all-purpose seasoning.
You sound like you could really cook.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying it, but you sound like you really a chef in the kitchen.
And then you let that simmer. Once it's done, oh my gosh.
Really?
Amazing.
But you didn't add any coconut milk to your beans.
No, coconut oil. Well.
Oh, it's coconut oil.
Coconut
so
oil,
when you put the beans
oil.
in the pot, you use coconut oil.
Right. Put a little bit of coconut oil, and that just sits on the counter. I use coconut oil for everything. Eggs.
So, but when you do your tortillas, are you using coconut oil or vegetable oil?
No. You can't fry in coconut oil because the temperature to burn is too high.
Okay.
I mean,
oh my
so
God,
it's
you
too
sound
low.
like a chef.
Yeah,
You're like
too low.
legit.
I love it. I almost didn't go to college and went to culinary art school. Like that's why my business is around cooking coffee all day, because I had to do something with cooking.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I always say that if I went to school again, I would love to go to culinary school.
Me too.
I would love to.
Me too.
All right.
Okay, so I think our first tortilla is ready. I'm gonna do this one. And we'll just put
And
that
then how
in
many
there.
do you usually eat to get full?
Like 3.
Okay.
Depending on how much I stack it up. So see how that started to cook real
And then
quick.
how do we know when the tortilla is done?
It's brown, golden brown, and it's
Do you
crispy.
have to flip it?
Yep, we'll flip it eventually.
Okay, it's bubbling up. Okay. Got a little cooking action. So take me back to what was going on at the time when you were making this while you were broke or struggling, or when your family was broke or struggling.
You know, when I first came out here, the only family, because I graduated from grad school and packed up my car with whatever could fit, and I just drove out here, and the only person that had space in our family out here was my aunt that lived in Paris, California.
Okay.
My first
Wait,
job-
where did you graduate from?
Wake Forest in North Carolina.
Okay, so you came from North Carolina, you move out here to live with the auntie.
Yep, and my job was in LA. So I was driving 83 miles.
Oh,
back.
you got a job you got a
I
job before you moved.
yeah.
And what were you doing?
I was doing this management program for this marketing company called Vantage. And so my aunt, she would make a big old pot of black beans because she had her kids, you know, I was there, her sons, her daughters, and then, you know, she just enjoyed cooking. So there would always be, no matter when you got there, there was always a good big old pot of black beans.
Okay.
And so with Garnachas, it really is, you know, it doesn't take much. It's just tortilla, black beans, and whatever toppings. So even if you have picky eaters, you can, you know, make it up yourself, however you like it. But that's when I really started just making them all the time after living there because it was just so easy. So I just made my pot of black beans. If it's breakfast time, I'll make some scrambled eggs, add that on there. If it's dinner time, I'll boil some chicken, mince it up, add that on there, same toppings, but, you know, change up the protein depending on the time of day. And because I was hustling, working 16 hours trying to, you know, make it.
And this is for
meal
that
was
company,
easy.
right?
Yeah, for that company.
Okay. And then, so shout outs to your auntie for really pouring the bean meals into you, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, so you're working. Tell me the next step of what's going on in your life.
So then I ended up only doing that company for a year and started doing insurance for this union company. And that was another management program, and so did that for 4 years.
Why do you keep saying management program like it's school?
Because
I'm
I
just
saw it
curious.
at school, because
Okay.
I felt like I had just education, and so what I looked for initially for my first jobs were, you know, programs that had a pathway to promotion. And so that's what this company had. And so within those 4 years, I ended up becoming the regional manager, and seeing how much money I was making for the company, I was like, if I can make them this much money, imagine what I could go out there and do for myself.
I think it's interesting though, which I've never actually heard someone say before, the way you look at a job as like a learning experience, or you're not just looking at it as a check, you're looking at it for
no.
much more than that.
That's also why I did the insurance business, specifically for that union company, because, I mean, ultimately the reason I moved out here is to get into government. But I'm not from here. I don't know anything. I don't know how the people think. I don't know what people need. And so the insurance game was, I was able to literally go into hundreds of homes of teachers, firefighters, police, average citizens, steel workers, and learn what their true needs are, and learn how they think, learn how much money they're making, learn what they actually have in savings, putting things aside. So really getting that understanding of what the landscape is. So ultimately one day I could really feel confident about representing them.
Okay.
Because that's what
Your
I moved out here
long-term
for.
goal was government. When you say government, what do you mean government?
Ultimately, I want to change education across the U.S. federally. So potentially holding a seat in Senate, to sit on that committee.
Wow.
But that's like why I moved here and wanted to start my own business, because I don't believe that if you want to be in charge of this city's budget, but yet you independently haven't ever manage a budget like that, how can we trust you? There's no proven history. Like, this is a lot of money that you get to decide in an instant. So I want to, when I get into office, I want people to know that I've built my own wealth, I've managed money, and I can also do that if you trust me with this fund.
Wow. And those are big goals. Where did you get that goal from?
Seeing all the injustices growing up. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and if you know anything about Nashville, it's mostly white, black. There's not many Latinos, definitely no Belizeans. And so just going through the education system, seeing the unfairness, experiencing it, witnessing it, and then going to college for my bachelor's at the University of Tennessee, where down the street, that's where the KKK was founded. And they would still have rallies downtown in Knoxville while I was there.
Wow. And what year is that?
This was 2010.
And they're still having rallies.
Still rallies. When Obama won in 2008, they put cotton balls around the Black Cultural Center. Not them specifically, but students on our campus. So it was just blatant racism. And when I was there, the most thing that struck me the most was the fact that we were only celebrating 50 years of allowing Black people to attend.
Wow.
I said, so you're telling me you've only allowed 2 generations of Black folks to get educated here, but yet you're charging us all of this money in debt to just study?
Freak.
And so that really, really upset me. And so I was going to go to law school and thought that was going to be my pathway. But then, right at the last minute, God tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, I know you've been practicing for the LSAT and think you're going to be an attorney, but you need to go to business school. I hadn't taken math since high school because I wasn't gonna do nothing with math. I was gonna be an attorney. That was my path to get into government, but ended up, by the grace of God, getting into Wake Forest, their business management program. Some of my classmates were from Princeton, MIT. I felt like I had no idea what I was doing, never studied business in my life, but I made it through thanks to some amazing teachers and office hours and peers, and made it through that program. But it really changed my life and gave me that confidence to navigate the world. Because I witnessed my parents who had the desire, this talent, but they didn't know necessarily, that one's a little dark, how to navigate the world. And that's where the education came in, coupled with what I learned from seeing them. And because they were both entrepreneurs, and my mom had a daycare, my dad had a landscaping company, but they were never able to really scale the business and take it to a point where they could retire from it.
Like, do you feel like they built the business to be like self-employed versus like building an actual organization?
At 1,000%. Even to this day, I mean, my dad still has his business and it's still basically the same way.
Like he's working for himself versus he has a team
absolutely.
That's... Okay, perfect. And that's actually, I want to say that, like, kudos to your dad. I think scaling and delegating work in a business is it's a very hard thing to do, but kudos to him just to stay in business as long as he has.
Yeah, it is a blessing because, I grew up, my mom came here, immigrated here from Belize illegally for a better opportunity, and they were able to do that together. And they're still married to this day, very blessed with that as well. But they taught me a lot of those things, and we had we were able to have all our needs taken care of growing up. And so I knew myself watching them that I knew one day I had to have my own business to get that same freedom, but I also knew that I needed the education if it was ever going to be sustainable.
Nice.
And that's where that business school came in and really, really changed my life, honestly.
All right. And then just so you know, unless you're cooking for everybody in the studio.
Oh yeah, we can be done.
He's over here cooking for a family of 10, guys.
That's what I'm used to. Look, I'm going to eat some later.
I ain't gonna lie though, some of these, I'm trying to judge him hard because he looks a little too clean cut, guys. So one of his tortillas from here look like it could be a crispy burnt.
It's a little dark.
Mulatto.
You just put
chocolate.
A little extra beans on those ones,
Yeah, so, just so you know, guys, we judging. I mean, right now I see one brown tortilla. It looked like it could be an African-American tortilla. Just saying. But all right, so you're in LA, you're moving up in this organization. What's going on? What's the next step? What's your next chess move? Because you're definitely playing chess. I see why you are where you're at, because you're not playing checkers, you're playing chess right now. I like it. I'm very, very impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Not that my opinion matters, but my opinion does matter a little bit. But yeah, no, I'm very impressed. So continue.
So then with the insurance gig again, I was doing very well financially. And And so I was like, I can't do this no more. It's either I do something for myself, but I didn't know what it was going to be because I knew it had to be around my passions. And I love to cook. As you can see, I'm really enjoying this. Thank you for the opportunity again. I love to travel. So I've traveled to so many different countries, and that's how I learned about my first opportunity, well, with coffee. So one of my friends, I always go back in December to visit my family in Belize, and so I had a friend who was from El Salvador, and he goes back to visit his family. So I said, hey, next time you go, we're neighbors, let me know, and I'll just hop on a plane over there and visit El Salvador, tour me around. And I didn't know his family were coffee farmers, a lineage of coffee farmers.
No way.
And so when I get there, he's giving me a tour of his place and everything, and then start talking to his parents and learning about their coffee farm, and then that it was struggling and how the whole industry was struggling, and just in general how the wealth was being extracted through coffee because of all the bullying, like these huge conglomerates like Starbucks and Nestle, who would come in there and just tell them, hey, either you pay this rate or we're not buying from you, good luck, and then restrict them from all the access. And so I said, well, what can I do to help that? And so I packed up my suitcase with some raw coffee beans, whatever could fit. And I said, I know there's some roasters or something in LA I could, take it to.
Now, you were able to take that across first of all, rewind. Educate us on the bullying. Like, I heard certain companies do this, but it's interesting to hear. So can you restate that?
Yeah, so basically, as you know, in America, when you think of coffee, you think of what?
I think of Starbucks.
Espresso, latte, cappuccino at Starbucks,
Okay, yeah.
right? And so coffee was here long before it was colonized by the Europeans, and that espresso machine was ever even invented. And so a lot of the money that in the industry, when they go there, they pay them pennies on the dollar. And these folks, it takes a coffee plant 4 years to grow. They have to literally climb up the sides of mountains because it only grows in remote places that have a microclimate. And then they pick it by hand and have to carry it back up and down the mountain. And I've done the exact same trek. I go to the farms and work with these farmers. And then they get paid like pennies on the dollar for it. And the workers are in poverty, the farmers aren't doing as well. And I was like, so coffee industry is billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But where's the wealth being extracted? It's all here because they pay them pennies and then they go and make all the money. Mm-hmm. So I told them, I said, well, I'll pay you more. I'll pay you what you're worth, and I'll create a stage for your story to be showcased and for people to know coffee is not a European thing. It's a Nicaraguan thing. It's an Ethiopian thing. It's a thing of the culture that has been here way before it was introduced through the European perspective. And so that's also where Coffee Del Mundo came about, because I said, if I am gonna create a company in this industry, I want to change and shift the narrative back to more of an authentic story that honors the efforts and the hard work that goes into these things. Because I've felt it, I've done the exact same things as them, and there's no way they should be living like this when all of this money is being made in this industry.
Do you have any video or footage of what it's like when you like?
Oh yeah, I got tons of footage. I had my Apple Watch on. It was 4 miles down, 4 miles back up. I barely made it. And they're carrying 100 pounds of coffee. Like,
and these guys they're living in poverty.
Yep. And it's young.
How young?
16, 14, but this is where the work is. They go and they're migratory, so they go where the work is, so they don't have no rights, they don't have no benefits. And so
then what about the education? They're not able to go to school.
They're not going to school, they're picking coffee. And you got to pay for school. So
and that's still going on in 2023.
Still going on. I literally left Nicaragua in December, and same situation. But the good thing again is the farmers that I work with, have a little more infrastructure, and we're paying them more so that way we can help. Because I know my dollar helps the farmer, the land, the workers, and my consumers here.
But like the Nestle's and Starbucks, they're paying bully rates.
Yeah, they're paying bully rates, and the quality is a lot lower. It's just terrible. So now there's a lot of more emphasis on knowing where your coffee comes from, mm-hmm. But this is a recent shift. It's still a lot of shifting that needs to occur for this wealth to be properly distributed to those who really deserve it.
It's crazy to think that you're right. I would think of coffee as more of a European thing. I wouldn't even think.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, I don't know that much about coffee, but okay. So, school me some more. So what was the next step in your story? Once you went to Salvador and you heard the story, obviously you have a lot of empathy and compassion for people. It's very clear. So it moved you to what?
So then I came back with the beans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I went around to different roasters. None of them looked like me. And importers, none of them looked like me.
What do you mean? What would they look like? White people?
White, all white, all white.
Okay.
The whole industry. Even at Coffee Fest, it was all white when I went the first year. And so I'm like, wait a minute. The only people that can grow this thing look like me, but then you get to America and it's a white-dominated industry. And I said, this don't make sense. I said, so really, how complicated is it to roast these beans? I love to cook. I'm pretty good at it.
And you
don't judge my dark one over here.
Before you went to El Salvador and saw the coffee beans, you liked coffee.
I loved coffee. I needed it. I told you I was 16 hours. I was made.
Coffee was your best friend. So when you went there, when you went there and saw the farms, were you like, oh my gosh?
I was in awe, but also I just love exploration and learning. So to be able to learn, before I went to El Salvador, I didn't know coffee was a cherry. It was a fruit.
You're gonna have to take this coffee from me because it is highly addictive.
I'm telling you,
it tastes so good,
isn't it? And it's dairy free.
I'm not even saying this to promote his business, but like, it's so good. You're gonna have to really take this from me because I will drink it all and be really sick later.
Oh, you'll be all right. You just won't go to sleep. You'll get a lot of work done. Just plan some work.
Really?
Yeah, plan your next episode.
Won't get the
Who's your next guest?
I won't get jitters?
Not if you stay up.
Like the shakes?
Don't drink more than half then.
But I do get a little shaky feeling in me when I drink coffee. Will I get that?
If you drink more than half.
Okay.
If you drink more than half.
Take it from me. All right. This coffee is really good. I'm not going to lie, guys. You're going to have to go check it out for yourself. And I'm not a coffee drinker, but I know for sure I like this. You should get... All right. So go on with your story. Sorry.
Yeah, so then I was like, okay, so what does it take to roast this thing? I love to cook. So then I'm a person who loves to physically touch things and manifest things. So I know these machines are expensive. So I started Googling who sells them. And I was like, let me go see what they are. Even if I know I can't buy one, they're like buying a car.
What do you mean buying a car? They're like $20,000, $30,000?
Yeah, these things are expensive because they come from Turkey. It costs like $3,000 just to get it shipped. Like these things are huge and expensive. And so I went to this one manufacturer from Turkey, they ended up being from Turkey. And so talking to the guy, he had a very thick Turkish accent, and come to find out he had just got here and he's responsible to sell these machines for the entire US, doesn't have much experience, doesn't know much about the culture, and that's what I specialize in. So I told him, I said, hey, why don't I help you sell these things? Create a sales pitch for you, help you sell these machines, and then I could earn a roaster, get a discount. He was like,
you are the most gangster person. My goodness.
So he's like, yeah. So then
you literally did that.
Yeah. I was like, look, I can't afford it, but I know you need some help, and I'm skilled at what I do, and I can sell these things. So then ended up.
Yo, entrepreneurs, are you paying attention?
You just got
You basically said, okay, I don't have the money, but I got this skill set, and we could work out a deal. Okay, I like where you headed. So then you work out the deal.
Worked out the deal. The owner of the company had come to the U.S. to visit, loved it, and he took me back. That's how I went and studied roasting, because they was like, we'll pay for you to learn roasting. All I had to do was get my flight. They paid for everything else. Like I got to tour Turkey.
And you sold them on hiring you.
Right.
And you had zero experience, but you had a sales background.
That's what I did. I taught and trained people how to do sales. Yep.
And I always tell people in entrepreneurship, the number one skill you have to have in entrepreneurship is sales.
That's it. And that's why I did insurance too, because I needed to learn that skill. And I wasn't no salesman, especially not in these waters. You got some deep, big old sharks up in here.
And people, it's funny because there's a stigma around salespeople, but the truth is, I tell people one of the skills that I want to teach my daughter is essential skill is sales.
Yeah, you're gonna have to sell. So that was one of the skills that I wanted to master first. So I read, studied, and executed demonstrated those skills with building a sales team and selling roasters successfully for them. And that's when I learned to study in roasting in Turkey. So that I got that taken care of. Then I came back.
And how long were you doing that for?
For like a year.
Okay, cool.
And so I would go to Coffee Fest with them, and then we'd help sell. And that's actually how I met my Nicaraguan farmers, because they and bought a machine from me when I was selling. I think we met in Portland when they came to the Coffee Fest, or maybe it was LA, one of these cities. And so that's how I ended up meeting that farmer to work with. And so fast forward, I got my baby roaster, earned my first little baby roaster, and
how much was it worth? I'm just curious.
$8,500.
And you earned it.
Basically, they let me use it as a showroom to teach people because they had a lot of interest, but people didn't know how to use the roaster. So I was basically the kind of U.S. showroom to help teach and train. Nice. And so I had the little baby roaster, and so I found a space that was a live workspace. So I had my studio in the back, and I had my little warehouse in the front with my baby roaster. And for that year, I just practiced roasted, and then I ended up leaving the insurance game.
Oh, you were still in insurance while you were doing all of that?
Yeah, because that was just off time, follow up easy things on the side. And so I ended up leaving the insurance game, and because I did well, I had residuals. Mm-hmm. So I let my residuals come in, and then if it didn't make what I needed to take, I just go Uber for a day or two and make my balance.
You a hustler.
And then the rest of the time, I just focus on building the business, like the business plan, studying roasting, labels, marketing, all of those things. And are you a spicy eater?
No.
Okay. So this is more of a flavor, but I gotta warn you, it could get really hot, but we're just gonna put a little dab on it because it goes good on the avocado.
He's talking about this, what do you call it?
This is our pepper sauce, the Belizean habanero pepper sauce.
Okay. And then it looks like a pizza almost, guys.
Yeah, kind of like a tostada, but it's like my souped up garnachas.
Very light. You get.
It's not. It's more for taste. You'll be all right. You got your water right.
So, can I invite you to sit down with me and Katie to come in? We're gonna throw the commercial. Okay, and we're back, and let's just sample your dish.
All right.
All right, here we go.
Before you go, you gotta get the lime. It ain't nothing without the lime. Put the lime on it. Get a little drizzle on there.
Whoever cut these limes, they didn't cut them right, huh? It's supposed to be chunkier, huh?
It's okay. You just use a little more muscle. That's all.
But I don't get it in my eyes. Okay, there we go. Lime. Looks like a little pizza. I'm glad you made it all pretty. Is this the brown one? You didn't give me the brown one, right?
They're the same.
I'm just playing.
These the same.
Just trying to make fun of them. All right, it's got the beans, the avocado, tomato, cilantro, and cheese. Here we go.
So this is technically vegan. A lot of times I don't eat, meat.
By the way, I have a question. Country Wayne was on our show. Shout outs to Country Wayne, okay? We be getting little spats off camera, but the truth is I bought baked beans. It says vegetarian on the can. Okay? It doesn't say vegan. Wouldn't it technically be vegan?
No.
Why? Because of the sugar?
Vegetarian just means there's no, I guess, meat in it, but vegan means it wasn't made with any animal products at all, or unnatural
is there such
products.
thing as vegan baked beans?
Yes.
Fuck.
Yes.
We're going to cut that. We ain't going to share that.
Yeah, there is.
We're not going to share that with... If you find it, let me know. But Country was swearing that there's a such thing, and I was like, no, there isn't.
At Whole Foods, it ain't at a regular grocery store.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Damn. I'm glad I didn't wager that. All right, cheers. We going to cut that clip and just send it to his DMs. All right. Cheers. Let's try this.
Cheers. All right.
All right, here. Let's click.
Hey.
All right. Okay. You know what? Eating broke ain't that bad.
If you creative, look. Like you said, it's under $10, and I'm eating this more than one day.
I would eat this when I'm rich or not.
I still do.
Yo. I was knocking the way you fried these tortillas, but you did it. These are amazing. I love the way you fried them. I'm gonna fry them just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yo, that is simply wonderful.
Easy, too.
I'm gonna be making these at home.
Mm-hmm. And if you already got the tortillas fried, all you do is warm up the bean in the microwave, because everything else is in the fridge. Easy, quick from home.
You be cooking at home for real?
Oh yeah, I throw down.
You know what? I actually like the sauce too.
Right, it's not too hot. It's just a good pepper sauce,
It's literally perfect. Like, Someone could be broke with you. They could live in a hut with you and be fine.
Trust me, all my roommates loved me because they never ate so good.
They'd be like, oh, he's in the kitchen. We chilling. Okay, and we're back. I annihilated mine. I'm going to have to go back to interview mode, and then I'm going to have you cook the rest of the tortillas before you leave. They're so good. Okay, fantastic dish. 10 out of 10. One of my favorites. Really delicious. Now, back to your amazing story. One of the things I noticed about you in this whole story is you're not looking at the clock. Or are you? When I say the clock, like you're not like, I have to be this successful by this date. It seems like you're taking life on as a journey, not as a destination.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first moved out here, it wasn't the case. I was like, I want to be a millionaire 10 years out of college. Mm-hmm. And so just experiencing life, the pandemic, and it really allowed me to understand that really if you are just present and operate in your purpose every day, then ultimately you will get to where you want to be. And so, to come out here to LA, I believe God gave me that vision to say, hey, you need to be in LA. Mm-hmm. And that's why I came here. And so I came here with an open mind, with the understanding that this is my desire. But if I'm diligent in using my gifts to serve what I believe is my purpose, then, God says he'll give you the desires of your heart. And so I believe my heart is filled. Okay.
So then after you acquired the baby roaster, mm-hmm. I like the name of the baby roaster. All right. You're in this loft workspace. What are you doing? What's a day in the life of you?
Pretty much I would wake up, plan out my day on what research needed to be done, because again, I wasn't just building a coffee shop, which I wasn't even building a coffee shop. I was building an e-commerce brand. And so as I had never done this before, I'm a super researcher and a deep analyzer. Mm-hmm. So I'd spend about my first 3 hours of the day doing research. Mm-hmm. And then the middle part of my day is when I would do the roasting. And so I would test out different roasts, and then the next day, if I'm not roasting, then I'm testing all of the roast, brewing it and cupping it, which is how we determine it, what kind of specialty, what kind of aromas, what kind of flavors, if it's acidic, if it's not acidic, if it has a lot of body. So I would study to get my palate up, kind of like a sommelier for coffee. So if I walked in your place, would it look like a science lab? Because that's what it sounds like. It was. And it would be many cups labeled and many bags labeled, dates, the type of roast. And then I have scientific tools called an Agtron reader, which tells me the color of the roast and gives me a score so that I can roast specifically to that. And a density measurer to measure the density of the beans. So you're not just buying beans. And when you say roasting, you mean like when they turn it into powder or something? That's grinding. So roasting the coffee is actually a green seed, kind of like a dried white bean. So it doesn't look like a brown bean? No, that's the roasting. So once I put it into the machine and cook it, depending on if I want a light, medium, or dark roast, then that's where I roast the bean. Okay, so when you get it, the bean looks like what? It looks like a seed, I would say like a green bean, a pea. Oh my gosh, it's so funny because when you were talking about getting the coffee beans, I thought of what's that fairy tale, Jack and the Beanstalk? Oh, Jack and the Beanstalk. Yeah. I was like, are they doing what? They climbing up and they coming down? Yeah, the mountains, because it grows on the side of mountains. Mm-hmm. So you get them as green beans, mm-hmm. and then you're sitting there like a mad scientist, roasting in your place. Exactly. And that's where the skill comes in, is figuring out what's the ideal temperature, what's the ideal time, what's the ideal airflow, what's the ideal drop temperature, all of those elements. How long were you doing that part of your business? For like 8 months, just studying and practicing. And then at this point, you're not making money off this? No. Are you giving it out to friends to test? Yeah, so I started my e-commerce site, and then I would try to sell the coffee, but everyone would say, well, I need to know what it tastes like. I don't know what this tastes like. Mm-hmm. And so I started to have tastings at my place mm-hmm. on the weekends, and that's where people started saying, oh, this is a dope experience. You should turn this into a coffee shop. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, no. That's going to take so much more work, so much more money. Mm-hmm. And so just listening to the needs of the community, there's, South Central, there's a food desert.
And
over
this is
there.
in South LA. They're saying this.
Yeah, this is in South LA. There's a food desert. There's no healthy options. There's no good coffee outside of, they had 7-Eleven, so I was like, okay, I think I could do this. So I moved out. Did a friends and family round, raised $25,000.
When you say friends and family, like you went over there with a business plan and did a whole presentation?
I told you I spent 8 months building this business plan. So then I shared it, and I was
You did 8 months doing the business plan?
Eight months practicing roasting and getting the research to get my business plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, your family at this point definitely believed that you were passionate about this business and it was worth investing in.
Oh, yeah. But they didn't have, my parents didn't have no money to invest, but friends and
So you did a round and you raised the money in trade of equity?
In trade of equity.
Okay.
So I gave up some equity of the company and raised $25,000.
Now, what was that $25,000 supposed to cover? Because that doesn't sound like a lot of money.
Right. So again, because traditional coffee shops are European style. So the reason why my business model didn't cost as much is because we were non-European. The largest expense is typically your espresso machine, which is like $18,000. We don't have that machine. We don't even serve any espresso drinks. So that took away a big chunk. Okay. And then the plumbing and the equipment needed to sustain that equipment is also expensive. So for us, we just need a drip brewer and a roaster, and that's it.
So how much time did that $25K buy you?
Well, the unfortunate thing is literally 2 months after we opened, COVID hit. And so
I would have been sick.
I was sick. We all were sick, apparently. and so I couldn't afford the place plus my studio downtown. But I was like, if one thing got to go, it's not going to be my dream. I'll sleep.
Did you move into a store?
So I rented out my studio, subleased my studio to a student, rented an RV, parked it in the back of the shop, and from there, for the next 3 months, I slept in an RV in the back of my shop. And I showered at the gyms until eventually COVID, after that 3 months, got real bad where they like shut the whole world down. And then I was like, okay, I need my studio back because I can't do this no more. I need it. You
didn't like the RV life anymore?
I was fine with it, but because I could go shower at the gyms. I go to the gym all the time, so it's part of my
but then
routine.
They shut down the gyms.
Right, because when COVID got real bad, they shut the whole world down.
And it was like 2 years.
Yeah.
So what was your mental state? Were you depressed at all?
No, I wasn't depressed. I was...
Focused?
Yeah, I was focused. It happened. I believe everything happened for a reason, so it gave me time to, again, continue working on my brand, the development of it.
And how are you surviving the checks from the government,
unemployment? So
okay.
I had unemployment, and then that's when I also do my own life coaching and business coaching.
Okay.
And that's what led me to get a contract with the city to do coaching for them. And then eventually that's what I still have a contract with them now where I do business coaching.
Holy cow, you're
So when I'm not working on my business, I'm helping, people in my community who can't access that education to help them build their businesses.
Wow. And that's for South LA?
South LA, yeah.
Wow, you're a gangster. I use gangster as a term of endearment, just so you know. Okay, so then throughout COVID, you survived COVID. Now you're doing the coaching during COVID.
Yeah, virtually.
Virtually. And then how'd you know to apply for that job?
What happened is before COVID, I went to this event, this KJLH awards dinner that they have. And wherever location they have it, I can't remember, but the elevator was taking forever. And there was a line to elevator. So I ended up taking the stairs. And nobody else was taking the stairs. But once I walked up to the top of the stairs, there was this guy standing there. He was like, oh, you were one of the only people that took the stairs. And he ended up being the CEO of Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corporation.
Is that Joe Ruzon?
Joe, yeah.
Joe is a mentor of mine. Shout out to Joe Ruzon.
Shout out to Joe.
Okay.
Shout out to Joe. So Joe was there. Was looking sharp.
So you know, yeah, he dresses like
a suit.
He dresses like a pimp with the
sharp as a tack.
He has the, what do you call those, cufflinks and everything. He dresses to the nines.
Oh, regal. That's my definition of Joe.
Yes.
Regal.
Yes.
And
okay.
so he was like, yeah. Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Joe. And he said, what do you do? I said, oh, I have a coffee business that I just opened up on Vermont. He's like, oh, you need to come on and see what resources we have for you over here.
Yep.
And so I ended up going there. I brought my business plan. I brought some coffee. And then when the business coach met with me, they were like, who helped you do this? I said, I did it. I said, I went to school for this. He said, and he was flipping through. He was like, no, you need to work here. We need your help to teach people to do this. And so he's like, send me your resume. And then they didn't have any openings at that time. But a year later, when the openings came, they was like, yes, we'd love you to be one of our coaches. And so that's how I kind of started being a coach for them.
Okay. Yeah, I had a contract with Joe before the pandemic, and then I got annihilated during the pandemic. But that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Joe, because he mentors a lot of people.
He does.
Okay, so all right, so so now you're doing the coaching, you make it through the pandemic. What happens next?
During the pandemic, to survive with all the COVID regulations, we had to start bottling our coffee. I had never had this in the business plan, never thought of it, but because the regulations, you couldn't serve open containers, I had to figure out, I got to bottle this.
And at the time, were you doing hot brew or
hot and cold coffee?
Oh, you were doing both. Okay.
Yes, but no bottling.
Okay.
Never thought of it. And so the regulation said you had to be, sealed container in a way that was tamper proof, so the customers would know. And so I was like, I guess I have to go to bottles. And the bottles took off. And it literally saved my business. And today, where it's now the reason people know about us and like how we're growing even
everybody,
to this day.
When I heard about you, was talking about these bottles. Oh, you got to get a bottle. You got to slide the bottles into the budget. When I say that was an actual conversation, like order the hot brew, but we got to make a way to get at least 25 bottles, 24 bottles into that budget. I was like, okay, so we can't feed everybody this cold brew, but it's a necessity.
You want to make sure the special ones get a bottle.
Yeah,
right.
And I can see why it's highly addictive. I mean, this tastes great.
And it works, too. If you got a long day, you want a healthy energy. Like, this has way less calories and sugar content than a Red Bull. And it's natural, it's healthy, it's designed for our bodies. And that's what my shop is. It's 100% plant-based. Our menu literally is designed for people of color.
But are you vegan?
I am not vegan, but I'm dairy-free.
Okay,
So our whole menu is dairy-free, and our pastries are vegan.
Okay. Yeah, I did see that. You didn't bring any pastries.
I didn't.
Do you actually make the pastries, or you outsource
We
them?
outsource them.
Okay.
We work
so
with a
then the
great
bottles
chef.
take off, and what happens next?
Then the world opens back up. We open back up, and that's how, what really took off for us.
But how did people know about the bottled coffee, though?
Because you could only do deliveries during COVID.
But how did you promote that you had it?
Eventually, through advertisements online, our postings on social media. Social media. We started running promotions, did some good content, made a video that advertised it, and then we had DoorDash, and then we made a website just for the bottles.
Okay, yeah. And okay. So then what happens next?
So then, we start getting bigger contracts. We get our first big deal, not a deal, but one of our first big clients, the LA Marathon, and they buy the bottles for their VIP booths, for some of the runners. And so we just started getting bigger clientele, universities, serving at Kaiser.
Point, are you selling it out more wholesale rates? Because these bottles go for what, $6 a bottle?
Retail, that's retail rates. But we do have wholesale rates for retail partners, and then catering orders, depending on how many bottles you get, we give discounts.
Okay, and then what's the farthest you ship this product out?
We don't ship the bottles out, but as far as deliveries, the farthest we've gone, that's a great question. We're pretty much local. We're pretty much local. Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty awesome, man.
Thank you.
So what's the next milestone, man?
Next milestone is to move. We're part of this development over by USC. So we'll be moving to a bigger space.
No, are you moving, or you're going to add another location?
We're going to move.
No.
So where we're at now is just too small, and also it's just not the ideal situation for how we want to continue moving forward. So in the meantime, there's this place called Baba's Vegan Cafe, which is down the street from us, not too far. So we've already been in talk with them, so we'll do a partnership and a pop-up.
Okay.
So we'll still have a presence right where our customers are, and then the USC would just be a little further away for us.
Now, do you see yourself expanding franchise-wise, or do you see yourself just brick and mortar, one store at a time?
Definitely franchise. When I built the business, I wanted it to be built in a way that I could align with many other people to, one, impact their communities, because our menu, again, is a very healthy, conscious menu, but also impact people who have the same values. And so with this business model, it's low overhead. We've already got the supply chain down, so it's really just you serving our recipes because it's no high skill. You don't need a barista.
But do you still need a baby roaster?
No, we'll do all the roasting.
Oh,
we'll
so
still
you
do all
it
the
and then
roasting.
you-
Yeah.
okay.
So we also roast for other coffee shops too.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah,
who?
so we have wholesale that we roast for, but we're not expanding that line of business just because that's our niche. Is we have these rare coffees that no one else has.
Wait, so you said you're not wholesaling that?
We have wholesale. We roast for 4 shops right now.
Okay. Are they? Hate to sound racist, but are they European?
No, they're European style. Yeah, every coffee shop in America besides us is European style.
Okay, so you're the only one that's not.
World's first.
And the thing that separates you from a European style is what?
We do not serve any European style drinks. So the European model is based on the espresso machine. So everything comes from there. Even the names of the drinks are Italian. But for us, we don't even have that machine. So you'll get a variety of single origin coffees. You'll know who's the farmer, where it comes from, the unique flavors.
Is that what the QR code is for?
Exactly. You scan it and it tells you all about it. So it's your boarding pass. That's our theme.
Wow. And that's why it says LAX to NIC.
To Nicaragua.
Dang, you're amazing. I love that you honor the history.
Absolutely.
And you remind our people.
Yeah.
You know, you really respect the culture.
That's what it's about because, experiencing, my life growing up in Tennessee and it's like I see so many elements where our stories and narratives are erased. And I want to be the one to help bring that back.
Yeah, it's important. And how did you know how to price the drinks?
Well, one, how much it cost me, and then 2, just looking at the market. And with our drinks, they really should be about $8, $7 to $8 a bottle. But because I know in our community they can't afford that, they're at $6. And of course, they can also get a discount if they're part of our membership.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that in the Black community when it comes to businesses, I noticed that the prices are a little bit higher, and I can't figure out why. I was thinking it's because maybe they're not ordering in a bulk enough capacity.
Yeah, I mean, that's also the case. But, when I built this business and decided it was going to be in South Central, I knew I wanted to build something in my community for my community and show my community that we can do something for us and it be profitable. So I knew that initially, in order for us to become profitable and to grow, that my revenue could not just be dependent on that location. We don't even have good parking. We're right beside a hotel.
Does the hotel do business? Do they do business with you?
No, not at all. This is one of them sketchy hotels that
Got
has other types of customers.
Okay, gotcha.
And so most of our business comes from the wholesale and the bottles and the catering.
Yo, it's an honor to have you on the show. Straight up, like it's such
It's an honor to be here.
So what advice would you give to someone trying to be in your shoes?
I would say to really seek out a relationship with God. Throughout my life, that's the consistent thing that's been the driving factor. People always ask me, why you in South Central? Why'd you pick there? I say, the short answer is God. Some people consider themselves missionaries and have to go across the world to go serve all these other places. But I'm like, God sent me right here to help my community, people who look like me, people where I could go outside and see Belizean flags in people's cars, and so you have to believe in something. And that's really the answer, is to believe in something. For me, it's God, and that's my beliefs. But for you and the listeners, you have to pick something. Going out there in the world and not believing in anything, then what happens is you eventually get anchored to things that you shouldn't. Because,
like distractions, right?
Yeah, and those are usually based on your emotions. What feels good right now may not feel good tomorrow. But if I know ultimately that this is my purpose and this is why I'm here and what I'm built to do as a creative, born in the image of my creator, then I have a little more peace through those highs and lows.
Wow. I feel like every time I do an interview, that is the most consistent message around on everyone on my show, everyone that's successful. God is literally the number one ingredient on everyone's list. Is that not crazy?
Yes, it's the common denominator when you're cut from a different cloth and you're not you're doing things that are typically trailblazing, or you're literally deciding, I'm going to take a more difficult path every day. That's what you decide. You're deciding, I'm going to go do something that's specifically catered for me, and that's tough. And so through experience, whether you believe in God in the beginnings of your journey or later on you develop a relationship with God, it's going to happen. And even with these successful folks, eventually you start to see them honoring and giving glory to God. Because at the end of the day, once you make money and you feel like you checked off the things on your list, it's always that question of, well, what really is next? Why am I here then? I already did the things I thought I was here for. What's beyond that? And that's where that relationship really becomes transparent.
All right. And then my next question is, what does a relationship with God look like for people that have never or don't have a relationship with God?
I would say vulnerability. A lot of times we as human beings put up a lot of walls because we have to meet all these other human beings, and we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be misinterpreted. And so we oftentimes, that's how we treat God too, because we're talking about him as if he's a person. So it's just a natural response to treat him as I've been treating all these other people. But ultimately, you have to realize that God is nothing like humans and anyone you've experienced. And so you really have to seek him for what you really want and need. And sometimes initially you may not know what that is. And then a situation occurs and it just makes it very clear. Like I said, I didn't think I was going to get into coffee. If you would ask me 10 years ago what I was doing, I would have said I was going to be the best litigator out there, helping everybody. But look where I'm at now, and it's because I was able to really lean into when God told me to turn left. I didn't turn right. I said, okay, God, even though I think I'm supposed to be turning right, you said left. I don't see no path. It's not lit, but we're going to turn. And you just got to keep going. And
then how much self-doubt did you have on this journey? Like if you had to be completely real, like how much self-doubt? I mean, I've met some people that say they didn't have any self-doubt, but I'm curious for you, like, was there self-doubt? Was there moments where you questioned or you were shaking?
All the time, every day, because it's not like my life is consistent with comfort. Mm-hmm. It's consistent with change. Mm-hmm. And so I'm constantly having to face decisions that are typically a lot bigger impact than I've had to do in the past. Now that my business is more successful, we're getting more exposure. And so even, this past week, working on this project to move, and it's going to be 3 times the space, 3 times the rent, 3 times the employees, like all of these factors that I've never done before, it produces that doubt because I haven't done it before. Mm-hmm. But the good thing is, that doubt is looked at and then it's set up on the shelf, and then I pull out that faith and move forward with that.
All right, guys, that wraps up our interview with Jon. Jon, how can people keep up with you? You could talk straight to the camera.
Okay, right, people can follow me on Instagram, Hustle to Create. That's my tag. I believe we were all born to create, so we should be hustling to create, not to consume. Mm-hmm. And also that's where you'll find, if you go to hustletocreate.com, you can find my life coaching and business coaching services as well.
Okay, and then one last thing. I have this discussion with my cousin a lot, Trevor. I always say, you don't want to get too comfortable. You don't want to fall in love with complacency. And I'm a firm believer, my company's called Famous Failure. Like, I'm a firm believer that you just really got comfortable. You have to kind of almost be comfortable with failure and challenges and being uncomfortable. Has there ever been a position amongst this journey where you chose comfort over or complacency over the latter? And what was that thing that said, bounce back?
I would say when I was doing the insurance game, I got real good at what I was doing. I got real comfortable with the money I was making, and really, if I didn't leave that company, I would have probably just been doing the same thing over and over. And so that was a real big moment for me where I said, I gotta get out of this. If I don't make a decision now, the trajectory of my life is not going to be how I want it to be.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes Uber, some of these, what do you call it, gig economy jobs, for some people, they can get very caught up in the complacency of that. I think it's like a gift and a curse. It can save you, but then you can get comfortable and lazy in that. You know?
Yeah, and absolutely. Like I said, my ultimate goal, I moved out here to get into government, but you can't be a broke politician.
No.
So for me, I can't get comfortable until I have a position where I can effectively make change that I want to do, which is why I came here. So, there's no option for me.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. We're going to have to be homies, man. And I'm now a coffee drinker. Only this drink, though.
That's right.
You know what? Can I test this one? It sucks because I don't know whose this is. But I'm going to just test. This is the white chocolate.
Yeah.
No. I feel like I'm going to be spinning off the walls, but I have to test it. I just want to test. I hope this isn't Katie's. I feel bad. I'm drinking your coffee. Hold on. What flavor is this one?
That's our Coffee Del Mundo.
Okay. My favorite one is this one. It's the
Cacao Blanco.
Cacao
Blanco.
Cacao. I look Puerto Rican,
Cacao,
you know what I'm saying?
cacao.
But cacao.
Yeah,
Blanco.
Cacao Blanco.
Yeah, see? This is my favorite. So if you guys want to check out my favorite.
And my favorite too.
And your favorite. See, we got, this one's good. If you're like an avid coffee drinker, you probably love this. But if you're the beginner, this is the one. All right. Thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to come kick it with us. If you guys want to check out more content, check us out at Eating While Broke or wherever you listen to your podcast. Peace out.